In the heart of the Maasai Mara, where the golden savanna stretches beyond the horizon, two young warriors make a solemn vow. The air is thick with the scent of acacia trees, and the distant roar of a lion reminds them of the fierce world they inhabit. Here, amidst the tall grasses and under the watchful eyes of their ancestors, a promise is made, one that will forever alter their destinies. Kip2 and Lemayan were not just friends, they were brothers in every sense but blood. From the time they were boys, they hunted together, fought side by side in battles, and shared in the joys and hardships of Maasai life. They were bound by a deep sense of loyalty, a bond forged in the fire of their warrior training and tempered by the traditions of their people. As they grew older, their paths began to diverge. Kip2, with his sharp mind and poetic soul, found himself drawn to the beauty of the world around him, especially to Nalika, the daughter of the clan's elder. Nalika was known throughout the village for her grace and wisdom, qualities that made her the pride of her family. But she was also promised to Lemayan, a match that had been arranged since they were children, a union that was meant to strengthen the bonds between their families. As the day of Nalika and Lemayan's union approached, Kip2's heart grew heavier. The love he felt for Nalika was like the roar of the lions in the night, powerful, primal, and impossible to ignore. Yet, he knew that to act on his feelings would be to betray his brother and defy the sacred traditions that held their people together. One fateful evening, unable to keep his feelings hidden any longer, Kip2 sought out Nalika. He found her near the sacred baobab tree, where they had often met in secret. The tree was ancient, its roots deep in the earth, much like the traditions that bound them. But that night, beneath its sprawling branches, they spoke of love, of dreams that could never be, of a future that was not theirs to claim. A tense council of elders in the village. The elders, dressed in traditional Maasai attire with long robes and beaded headpieces, sit in a circle on the ground. Their faces are stern and unyielding. Kip2 stands before them, head bowed, as he confesses his love. Lemayan stands to the side, his face a mask of anger and betrayal. The elders declared that Kip2 had angered the spirits of the ancestors, who had blessed the union between Nalika and Lemayan. To appease them and restore balance to the tribe, Kip2 was banished from the village, a fate worse than death for a warrior who had given everything to his people. As he walked away, the skies darkened, and a great storm rolled in, a sign that the ancestors were indeed displeased. In the days that followed, Nalika's heart was torn. She knew her duty was to her family and to the tribe, but her love for Kip2 was a flame that refused to be extinguished. She could not bear the thought of him wandering the savannah alone, an outcast from the only home he had ever known. So, under the cover of night, Nalika made a decision that would seal her fate if she would leave the village to find Kip2 and face the consequences together. Nalika found Kip2 near the edge of the sacred forest, a place where the Maasai believed the spirits of the ancestors dwelled. Together, they journeyed deep into the heart of the forest, where no warrior dared to go without the blessing of the elders. The trees here were ancient, their roots twisted and knotted, and the air was thick with the presence of the spirits. It was here that Kip2 and Nalika would make their final stand. At the center of the forest stood a sacred tree, believed to be the gateway between the world of the living and the spirits. Kip2, knowing that the only way to save Nalika was to offer his life, he kneeled before the tree and prayed to the ancestors. He offered his most prized possession, the lion's tooth necklace, a symbol of his bravery and status as a warrior, as a sacrifice. He begged the spirits to spare Nalika and let her return to the village, even if it meant his own death. For a moment, there was only silence. Then the wind began to stir, and the tree's leaves rustled as if the spirits were speaking. The air grew thick with a presence that Kip2 and Nalika could feel deep in their bones. The spirits, moved by Kip2's selflessness and the purity of their love, granted their mercy. They would allow Kip2 and Nalika to live, but on one condition: they must live. The spirits spoke with a voice like the wind through the savannah, ancient and powerful. They declared that Kip2 and Nalika's love, though forbidden, had moved them. They would be allowed to live, but only if they left the Maasai lands and never returned. The spirits warned them that their journey would not be easy, for the spirits of the land and sky would test their resolve. Kiptu and Nalika returned to the edge of their village, the place they had called home. As they stood on the hill overlooking the huts, memories flooded their minds, the laughter, the festivals, the shared meals under the stars. But there would be no farewells, no embraces. They were now outsiders, ghosts to their people, destined to live only in the memories of those they left behind. Voice over. And so, with heavy hearts and determined spirits, Kiptu and Nalika began their journey into the unknown. The vast savanna stretched out before them, a land both beautiful and unforgiving. With each step they left behind the world they had known, the comfort of family, the security of tradition, venturing into a future filled with uncertainty. But in their hearts they carried the hope that together they could overcome anything. The journey was fraught with challenges. The savanna, though stunning in its beauty, was a harsh and unforgiving place. Days were spent searching for water under the blazing sun, while nights were filled with the howls of predators lurking in the darkness. Yet, through every trial, Kiptu and Nalika's bond grew stronger. Their love was their anchor, guiding them through the storm. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and red, Kiptu and Nalika stumbled upon a group of nomads. These were people who, like them, had left behind the constraints of traditional village life. The nomads welcomed the weary travelers with open arms, offering them food, shelter, and friendship. For the first time since their exile, Kiptu and Nalika felt a sense of belonging. But peace was fleeting. One night, as Kiptu and Nalika sat by the fire, a strange wind swept through the camp, extinguishing the flames. The nomads whispered of a bad omen, and Kiptu knew in his heart that the spirits were not yet done with them. The next morning, a group of Maasai warriors appeared on the horizon. They had been sent by the elders, who had received a vision from the spirits. The warriors came not to punish, but to plead for Kiptu and Nalika's return. The village was in turmoil, a drought had struck the land, and only their return could restore balance. The request of the warriors tore at Kiptu and Nalika's hearts. They had found a new life among the nomads, a life free from the constraints of tradition. But the call of their people was strong, echoing the love they still held for their families and their homeland. The choice before them was impossible: stay with the nomads and continue their new life, or return to the village that had once cast them out, risking everything for the chance to save their people. In the end, duty and love could not be separated. Kiptu and Nalika chose to return to the village, knowing that they might be walking into danger, but also knowing that they could not turn their backs on their people. As they approached the village, the land was dry and cracked, the signs of the drought evident everywhere. The villagers, their faces lined with worry and fear, watched in silence as Kiptu and Nalika walked through the gates, their hearts filled with both hope and trepidation. Back at the sacred baobab tree, Kiptu and Nalika knew that the only way to save the village was to offer one final act of redemption. In the presence of the entire village, they returned to the sacred tree and offered their last remaining treasures, the lion's tooth necklace and Nalika's beaded wedding collar. They knelt together, side by side, and prayed to the spirits for forgiveness and for the rains to return. Their voices, filled with love, hope, and a deep sense of duty, echoed through the silent village. For a moment, all was still. Then, the skies above began to churn, and a distant rumble of thunder echoed across the savanna. The spirits had heard their plea. As the first drops of rain began to fall, the village erupted in joy and relief. The drought was over. Kiptu and Nalika had not only saved their people but had also restored the balance that had been lost. But with the rain came the realization that their journey was far from over. The spirits had granted them mercy, but their exile remained. Kiptu and Nalika would leave the village once more, this time as heroes, not outcasts. As Kiptu and Nalika walked away from the village for the second time, they did so with their heads held high. Their love had been tested by fire, and it had emerged unscathed. They knew that their story would be told for generations, not as a tale of forbidden love, but as a testament to the power of love.